The Iron Warriors, once the formidable 4th Legion of Space Marines, were renowned for their expertise in siege warfare and assaulting static formations. This specialization led to a fierce rivalry with the Imperial Fists Legion, known for constructing the Imperium's most formidable defensive structures. This rivalry between the legions, fueled by the conflicting personalities of their respective primarchs, Perturabo and Rogel Dawn, eventually played a significant role in the Iron Warriors' descent into the clutches of chaos. Much like members of the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Loyalist Iron Hands chapter, the Iron Warriors share a profound inclination for cybernetic enhancements. When afflicted by the mutating influence of the ruinous powers, most Iron Warriors opt to surgically remove the corrupted appendage and replace it with a mechanical one. This dedication to technology and their willingness to adapt in the face of chaos are defining characteristics of the Iron Warriors. The Iron Warriors were, without a doubt, the Emperor's foremost experts in siege warfare. Their Primarch, Perturabo, stood as the equal of Rogel Dawn in matters of fortification and strategic acumen. However, within Perturabo brewed a deep-seated sense of being sidelined. He perceived every proud utterance of Rogel Dawn as a personal affront, a barbed insult. With the onset of the Horus Heresy, it almost seemed inevitable that these two formidable primarchs would find themselves on opposing sides of the galaxy-spanning civil war. Perturabo's formative years were spent on Olympia, a rugged, mountainous world riven by ceaseless conflicts between warring city-states. As an infant, Perturabo was discovered by the servants of Damokos, the infamous tyrant of Lokos, who raised him as his own. Yet Perturabo never fully embraced his place in this adopted family, growing increasingly aloof and mistrustful of those around him. Despite his distant demeanour, he seized the opportunity to learn the intricate art of siege warfare from the tumultuous culture of Olympia. The constant clashes between city-states provided ample chances to master both the theoretical and practical aspects of this specialized form of combat. In the year 849 of the 30th millennium, during the Great Crusade, the Emperor's forces reached Olympia. There, the Emperor revealed to Perturabo his destiny within the broader galaxy. The Primarch pledged unwavering allegiance to the fledgling Imperium, and assumed the mantle of leadership for the Iron Warriors Legion. Following the established Imperial tradition, Perturabo was declared Lord of the world where he had been raised, effectively supplanting his adopted father. The 4th Legion embarked on the process of recruiting new members from the most capable candidates among Olympia's populace. In the ensuing campaigns, the Iron Warriors swiftly established themselves as some of the most proficient siege troops within the Emperor's vast armies. Perturabo's intellect was a finely honed weapon, characterized by its sharpness, cold calculation, and a natural aptitude for the intricacies of siege warfare. Perturabo possessed a remarkable affinity for advanced technology, enabling him to engage in discussions on the most arcane subjects with the highest-ranking members of the ancient Mechanicum. The Iron Warriors underwent intensive cross-training on Mars, further perfecting their specialization until only the Imperial Fists of Rogel Dawn could rival their expertise. World after world that resisted the Emperor's vision, as advocated by his iterators, ultimately surrendered when confronted with the prospect of a prolonged siege by the Iron Warriors. Innumerable planets embraced Imperial compliance, sparing themselves from the devastating and ultimately futile conflicts that they would have had to otherwise endure. The Iron Warriors' mastery of siege tactics became a potent instrument for the Imperium, securing victory and unity across the galaxy. Perturabo's resentment within the Great Crusade seemed to intensify, potentially driven by a desire to prove his superiority over Dawn and his fellow Primarchs. To demonstrate their prowess, he willingly undertook increasingly challenging missions on behalf of the Iron Warriors. Worlds deemed impregnable by others fell to his systematic application of overwhelming force, but this unrelenting approach exacted a heavy toll, even on the transhuman Space Marines. Intense preparation culminated in brief yet extreme bouts of violence. Strangely, the Iron Warriors began to prefer being met with tenacious defenders who resisted them, as this allowed the pent-up pressure of siege warfare to find release in the moment of their adversary's ultimate defeat. To compound matters, the Iron Warriors found themselves increasingly deployed as garrison troops. They were detached in small forces from the Legion and tasked with guarding the very worlds they had painstakingly brought into Imperial compliance. While other Primarchs adamantly refused such usage of their legions, Perturabo reluctantly complied, albeit with diminishing grace. As the tragic outbreak of the Horus Heresy drew near, Perturabo seemed to face mounting pressure, and his lingering bitterness fled into a raging inferno. Some have theorized that Warmaster Horus himself may have manipulated events and deployments to continually disadvantage the Primarch, further fueling his profound sense of grievance. Regardless of the underlying truth, a breaking point emerged when the Tyrant of Lokos passed away, triggering a rebellion among the people of Olympia against the rule of the Iron Warriors. Perturabo's long-contained fury was at last unshackled upon his return to his homeworld. In a cataclysmic act of vengeance, the Primarch wreaked havoc, resulting in the slaughter of countless innocents and the incineration of entire cities. The aftermath of this rampage left Perturabo in the depths of despair, struggling to come to terms with the atrocities he had committed in his blinding rage. Before he could embark on a path of redemption, news arrived of the War Master's brutal virus bombing of Eastvan III, and the Iron Warriors received orders to confront the rebels and bring them to justice. History scarcely documents the depths of intrigue and manipulation that Horus must have employed to sway the embittered Perturabo to the side of the traitors. Nonetheless, the Iron Warriors turned against their loyal brothers at the drop site massacre on Eastvan V, thereby sealing their eternal damnation. With the shackles of restraint finally removed, Perturabo gave free rein to his most destructive impulses, leaving a trail of devastation across world after world in the service of the War Master. While one contingent of the 4th Legion transformed Olympia and its neighbouring star systems into an empire of iron, another lent their expertise to the Siege of Terra. Here, the Gene Sons of Perturabo could finally pit their skills against those of Rogel Dawn. Whether Dawn's masterfully constructed defences would have proven the Iron Warriors' undoing remains a matter of speculation, as the War Master met his end before a decisive outcome could be reached. Those Iron Warriors involved in the Siege of Terror fled to the Eye of Terror with the rest of the traitors, while those who had established their domain around Olympia prepared for the inevitable assault by the Loyalist legions, which became known as the campaigns of the Great Scouring. In a cruel twist of fate, emblematic of the grim era that marked the dawn of the Age of Imperium, the Imperial Fists were among those who laid siege to the Iron Warriors. Although the traitors were eventually dislodged, it took a decade of relentless campaigning, culminating in the detonation of nucleonic stockpiles and the reduction of Olympia to a desolate wasteland. Among the most infamous of Perturabo's campaigns, the one often cited as the act that earned him the ominous blessing of apotheosis into a demon Primarch, unfolded on the world of Sebastus IV. Here, the Primarch oversaw the creation of a fortress of unparalleled dread, known as the Eternal Fortress. It was surrounded by an extensive network of trenches, redoubts, minefields, and razor wire, far exceeding the typical purposes of fortifications. This edifice was a singular challenge, conceived with one sole intent: to defy the proud boasts of Rogel Dawn and ensnare him in an inescapable trap. Despite the warnings of his brother, the Imperial Regent Robert Guilliman, Dawn succumbed to Perturabo's audacious claim that none could breach his fortress. Consequently, he led the entire Imperial Fists Legion into what would later be infamously known as the Iron Cage. What followed was an unparalleled carnage of death and destruction. Not since the height of the Horus Heresy had a Space Marine Legion suffered such devastating losses. As more of his warriors succumbed to the stratagems and deceptions of the well-prepared Iron Warriors, Dawn's captains urged a tactical withdrawal and regrouping, acknowledging what he could not, that the Imperial Fists had been bested, and in a siege no less. Ultimately, Rogel Dawn could not bring himself to issue the order to retreat. Instead, it was Robert Guilliman who realised that he could not stand idly by while his brother led his legion to defeat. He dispatched the Ultramarines to relieve the Imperial Fists. Faced with the combined might of two entire legions, Perturabo withdrew his forces, knowing he had accomplished his goal. By the end of this brutal battle, the Imperial Fists had suffered the loss of an astounding 400 battle brothers, with many more left wounded. In a dark turn, Perturabo offered the untainted gene seed his legion had harvested from the Imperial Fists to the Chaos Gods for the use of the traitor legions, and apotheosis awaited as his reward. In the 41st millennium, the Iron Warriors persist as a relentless menace to the Emperor's realm, operating from their demon world of Medrengard in the tumultuous Eye of Terror. Warbands of Iron Warriors, led by different warsmiths, frequently launch raids in pursuit of fresh plunder and technology to augment their own power. These Iron Warriors collaborate closely with the heretics of the Dark Mechanicum and have demonstrated their ability to unleash incredibly potent new demon engines upon the forces of the Imperium. This unholy alliance between the Iron Warriors and the Dark Mechanicum poses a grave threat to the servants of the Emperor in the ongoing grim and unending conflict of the 41st millennium.